Save the Semantics, episode 180. It is June 20th, 2022. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some shit. It's been a good week. It's been a good past week. I feel like I don't know. I felt pretty good this past week. Today is kind of so-so for me. I feel good, or I feel decent right now. But I don't know. Today I was just kind of off. Like some days I just really don't. I'm like just trying to get through it. It's Monday. It's Juneteenth. New national holiday as of last year, when the last slaves were released in America following the Civil War and the Emancipation Proclamation. So pretty much a holiday. I have work off, which is nice. And I don't know. I just wasn't feeling particularly great today. It was kind of a struggle to kind of get through things. Like I was not enjoying. I had some errands to take care of, and I just was not enjoying. I mean, I don't have to enjoy everything that I do, but I was just struggling to just get through it. Like I was really disliking every moment of doing the tasks that I needed to get done, and it was just kind of annoying. Like really, it's just like it's one or two small things that just like trigger me to feel like shit for the rest of the day, and it sucks. Like it's really it's generally pretty minute. I don't know, like it could be something, my concerns about future events, or certain insecurities that I have. Maybe I fucking I felt like I didn't look right, looking at myself in the mirror. Like certain things like that just like trigger something, I don't know what exactly, and just make me feel bad for the rest of the day. I mean, that might not be the only thing, but it certainly kind of like pushes me into kind of feeling shitty throughout the day. So it sucks. It's just you just kind of have to get through it. And I also want to note that it's not like a crippling thing. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that completely stops me from doing anything. It's just that it makes things a lot harder in comparison to as it is normally. So I just kind of gonna have to work through that. You know what I mean? Like whenever I have like a just negative moment, whatever that might be, that just kind of pops up in my head, I just have to sort of ride that wave in the best way that I can. Like really ignoring it does nothing, unfortunately. Just learning from experience of handling whatever. I don't even want to consider it to be like anxiety per se, but just like negative thoughts. Like it's you can't or I can't really ignore those, because it just sort of induces them to kind of come up later even stronger. So I think it's just the best way to deal with it would be to tackle it like head on, right? Whether I just kind of sit with it and just kind of let the moment pass. I mean, which I don't always have the opportunity to do that if I'm like working or whatever. So I just sort of have to I just have to work with it the best way that I can, and not force myself to be kind of push it away to the side. I think, not to get super into, not I don't want to make this into a whole like therapy session thing, but I noticed that when I was younger, I tended, and younger meaning like when I was like in high school and stuff, I tended not to like, I very much, what is the word? I very much like repressed a lot of like anger and frustration and stuff. Like I didn't really like, I very much handled it in kind of a like stone-faced manner where I didn't really express those feelings a whole lot. Like I had those feelings of like frustration a lot of the time. It's just that I didn't really let it come to the surface in that sense. And so now I'm sort of learning the best way to handle those things. It's like, it's not, because you don't really, I don't know, when you're younger, you're not really taught to be super reflective in that sense. Like we had like exercises and stuff like that, like reflecting in, day-to-day things, like through like writing and like journaling and stuff like that. But in terms of just sort of, dealing with whatever issues that you might be dealing with, like mental issues during like, your regular day-to-day, I don't know, on a day-to-day basis, it's a little different. Like I think it's not as like, I mean, it's hard to teach those kinds of things, you know what I mean? Because everyone functions differently. So but it's just something that I've kind of had to learn over the years in terms of how to handle difficult situations and how I react to them. So that's always a work in progress. So yeah, today in particular wasn't great, but I'm doing all right now. I'm kind of just taking the time to do this and just kind of talk about just, whatever that I want to talk about. The Warriors won their championship this past Thursday, which I'm very happy about. I rewatched the highlights of the game a couple days after. I really wanted to just kind of take it in, and I still haven't really watched all of like the championship footage of them winning and like the trophy and Curry getting like his MVP, finals MVP. I think I'm just gonna I'm gonna slowly kind of just take that all in, because it's special, man. Like we are very much spoiled like as a franchise and as a fan base. I mean, we're incredibly blessed to have these players and to have these like championships, and just this incredible, one of the greatest like basketball teams of all time, really, just like on display. Like it's just incredible shit, man. So I'm very happy about just all of it. The entire experience from the moment that I started really getting into basketball, really, back when they were just a dog shit team, one of the worst teams in the league, and to where they are now is it's incredible stuff, man. So I'm very happy with how things have progressed. I'm really happy that Curry finally got his finals MVP. It seemed like he was really happy about that and emotional about it. So I think I'm gonna check out his his acceptance and everything like that. Maybe later. I think it's nice to just kind of soak everything in, and kind of not let the moment pass, because it is very special. You know what I mean? So I mean, what a great season. You know what I mean? Like what an incredible season it's been. Just like the run from the beginning of the year, where they were like the best team in the league, and they had their like shortcomings, like like Curry getting injured and Draymond getting injured, and and Clay's return. Like it's just like this storybook like season for this team. And it's just everything was just kind of written for this to happen. You know what I mean? And I'm very happy about that. I think it's awesome. I think, and then on top of that, and I talked about this before, but we just have a bright future ahead of us. You know what I mean? I think next year, I think the next couple of years are probably the last that we'll see of the Curry, Clay, and Draymond kind of core. I think of the run that they could make. But I mean, I would be perfectly happy with this being their final championship. I mean, I like what a fucking I mean, every other franchise except the Celtics and the Lakers and I don't know, I guess the Bulls maybe are probably fucking they're cramming for their second or their first championship. So I'm like I don't want to sound too fucking, I don't know. We have a lot to be happy about. So I don't like to rub that shit in on people, but I think it is really special what we're seeing with this team, and just in the history of sports in general. I think it's awesome stuff. So really happy about that. In other news, this coming Wednesday, the Nintendo is having a direct for Xenoblade 3, which I will not be watching or I will try not to watch, just because I don't know, I want to go into this game knowing as little as I can, just having an understanding of the world and everything like that. I don't want to know how things got to where it is. And I think what I'm guessing is that they're probably going to show more gameplay footage, which is fine, but I also want to kind of experience those things by myself. I kind of want to learn the battle system. I want to kind of struggle with it, and just get to a point. I don't know. I just want to be in, just keep it blank as I possibly can before diving into this game. I think for the first Xenoblade game, it's kind of funny. I watched, what really got me into that, there was a review of the game by this YouTuber, and they go by something else now. They used to be called Warrior Lasky Games, and I think right now they're called Resident Arc. They changed their names a couple times, I think. And they made a review back in 2011, or no, it was 2011 or something like that. And it was a great review because they didn't spoil anything. Two, they talked about just the concept of they gave a brief overview of the concept of the world and everything like that. They talked about just the combat and the the characters a little bit, and the music, and the music is what really was what drew my attention. I think just hearing the Gar Plains theme and everything like that was enough for me to be I have to play this fucking game, dude. And just seeing kind of the scope of the world, and it was just so fascinating to me. I have tried and I think a lot of fans can agree, it's just I have tried to find a game that's kind of to a similar degree, and it's just been really hard to do that. And I think, I don't know, I think maybe I'm projecting too much of what I want from a game, the Xenoblade games in general, to another game, and I think that's not fair to that other franchise or game. I think it's just I have to kind of experience that series on its standalone without comparing it, but it's hard. It's really hard because they've just set the standard, and they've just set like the bar very high in terms of just the storytelling and just the exploration and everything like that. And the music, I think that was just kind of what was really you know, the key for me to really try to search the game and everything like that. And and here's the thing, I didn't get like any, I didn't really get a ton of information from this review that I initially watched, and also like I don't know, just researching the game. I didn't get like a ton. So I I knew what I was getting into when I played the game and everything like that, but I was still left in the dark for the most part regarding like the plot and everything like that. So I kind of want to have that for the third game as well. The second game, I also did not consume a ton of information beforehand before delving into it. Like I didn't think it was like a sequel or anything like that. Or like, like what people said was that it's not really necessarily like a direct sequel. It's sort of like a spiritual successor in that sense. You know what I mean? So I also kind of went into the second game without really any knowledge of really anything. So I think that I want to just be left in the dark about a lot of the elements, including the combat as well. I'm okay learning the combat on the fly. Like the second game, like it took me pretty much until like I don't know, like 60-70 hours into the game to like really understand and appreciate the combat, like to like pull off like the blade combos and like the setting up the orb with like the chain attack and all that shit. Like I didn't really understand any of that until the end of the game, and then when I was like pulling it off, it was incredibly satisfying. So I'm I kind of want that sort of similar experience with the gameplay and story and everything. So holding off on the direct that's going to be on the 22nd, which is on Wednesday. I'm really happy though just how much exposure the game and the series itself is getting. Like I've been watching, I've just been kind of checking out streams of people playing the first and second game for the first time, and it's cool seeing, and it's cool seeing like people's kind of like both like they're theorizing like what their ideas of what to expect like in the story, their thoughts on the game, their thoughts on like the concepts that they present in the game. It's all really interesting. I think it creates like a really interesting like dialogue. Excuse me, just hearing just people's different thoughts about about the game and just like the just everything that kind of happens. Like I think it's really interesting because there's a lot of like when I play through these games, like of course I have my own perceptions and my own ideas of like where the stories might go and kind of like what my thoughts are on certain characters, motivations. Like for example, like when I beat the second game, I actually wasn't like the biggest fan of how they wrapped things up, but just like watching other streamers like and how they kind of like just kind of when they give their like thoughts after the game finishes, like it gives me a more of like appreciation for the ending itself. And I've thought about just playing through the second game again, honestly. Like I had my I had a drifting issue with my Joy-Con again, and I was able to fix that recently, but unfortunately in the process, like, I broke like the ZL trigger button, so that's kind of fucked. So I'm hoping that that I don't really generally use that button a whole lot, but so I'm hoping that like the third game doesn't require me to use that button for anything, because if it does, that's gonna be a problem. And then also my right bumper is kind of shit too. Like, I kind of fucked that up when trying to fix the drift for my right controller, my right Joy-Con. So both of my Joy-Cons are kind of fucked right now. So I might, if I have to, I might need to get 2 new controllers, which kind of sucks because Joy-Cons are fucking expensive, and they're also cheap too. Like, they're cheaply made. I feel like they're just so easily breakable, so it's incredibly frustrating. So if it comes down to it, I'm probably gonna have to buy 2 new controllers just to be able to play the game, and everything like that. Like, it's pretty janky right now. It doesn't look super good. Like, I kind of fucked up for the one that I fixed as well. I fucked up the head of the screw, the drive of it. It's so small, so it's like really easy to like scratch it and to fracture it, so where like you can't like screw or unscrew it anymore. So unfortunately, if I do need it, like it's like the ZL button is broken, so like it's and the only way to kind of fix that is that to get like a new cable valve to connect it, because it's basically just I ripped the cable valve that was connecting the like the rest of the internals to the button itself. So that's I don't know how to fix that. And then again, on top of that, one of the screws is screwed, literally. So I'm gonna have a hard time trying to, disassemble it and then fix everything again. So I think, and I just hate fixing shit like that. It's just so frustrating for me. Like, even when things somehow go right, like, there's always like a little fucking thing that goes wrong, and it just kind of screws up the entire fixing process. So I have a newfound appreciation and respect for electricians, just to fiddle and fix and troubleshoot all those like electric wires and all those like connecting like certain fucking like cables and dealing with all that, just because one little wire breaking apart or going missing can just like screw up everything else. So I hate dealing with that stuff. So I want to have I want to kind of be able to have this I guess have like a little skill when it comes to like fixing around with like trinkets and stuff, but I've always been just terrible at that sort of thing. Like, whether it came to like, I don't know, construction or anything really mechanical, I'm always just dog shit at that sort of thing. Like, I lack the patience and the discipline to like work through those things. Like, I just want to fucking fix a thing. Like, I was just getting really frustrated when fixing the Joy-Con. That's just something that I don't know if I'll ever improve when it comes to fixing certain things, but I just wish that I had a little more patience. It's just something that I just need to practice, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I most likely, if I want to have a smooth gaming experience, I feel like I might need to get some new controllers, unfortunately. Really unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. Until And I don't think Nintendo's going to fix this issue anytime soon. I think it's just, I just don't see it happening. Like, it's been, what, 5 years since the Switch has been out, and nothing's happened in terms of, like, every solution that's come up has been from the gaming community itself and the consumers of the Switch and the games. Like, there's been nothing from Nintendo themselves that's been like, hey, this is how you should fix your Switch. Instead of them actually providing the solution and, doing that, like, they kind of, like, it's really just kind of shoddy and shitty, corporate behavior, in my opinion. So, unfortunately, I don't see any real solutions coming up soon. Anyways, going back to, I was saying 2, I was thinking of replaying 2 maybe, just because I kind of wanted to experience it again before the second game. We'll see if that happens. I will not be watching the direct. I am really curious about what they're going to talk about, but I also don't want to be spoiled on certain things. Like, I think going into these things, like, the expectation is that you're going to get spoiled on certain things, and I just want to go into it having just a blank slate, because that's sort of what I've done for every Xenoblade game. So yeah, that's kind of I'm looking forward for that for other people. I think other people that are looking forward to the direct, that's exciting stuff, man. So hopefully they have something to show for. I've been watching some Let's Play, or I guess playthroughs of Xenogears, and that's been fascinating. That's been really interesting. Like, that's really kind of like, that's really made me want to delve into more of, like, the other Xeno games, and, like, the other stuff that Takahashi has put out, because, man, what a fucking game, dude. Like, it's incredible. Like, the storytelling and just, like, the scope of the world, I feel like, is even larger than Xenoblade itself. And Xenoblade's, like, world is pretty, like, the scale of it is pretty massive, I would say. But yeah, it's just like it's crazy, just the amount of lore and everything that just went into the game, and I still don't understand what the fuck happened most of the time. Like, I have like, the general idea of the story and the themes and the elements like that makes sense, but I'm still missing quite a lot in terms of just, like, the context and everything like that, just because, I'm not actually playing the game, I'm watching someone else play it, so it's a bit of a different experience. But yeah, it's made me want to delve into the other, like, the Saga games, and just kind of their relation to the, Xenoblade games, because I noticed that in Gears, a lot of the themes are very similar to the ones that are presented in both 1 and 2. I think, like, obviously there's, like, there's like, themes relating to, like, biblical allusions and things about, like, history and the collapse of humanity and everything like that. That's, like, the type of thing that fascinates me. There's, like, it reminds me of a book that I read a little while back called Canticle for Leibowitz, and it sort of has, like, a similar idea where it talks about and I talked about this a while back, but it's about essentially, like, history repeating itself, where it's just sort of this, like, endless cycle of creation and destruction, and those kinds of ideas are very interesting to me. So, and that's kind of one of one of those books that I want to revisit. That's one of my favorite books that I read in the past, few years. It's been a little while since I read it. I read it for this sci-fi class that I took, and I think, I talked about this a long time ago, but that book also addresses a lot of these ideas of just kind of religion and just kind of stories, and how those stories can be interpreted differently through different people. In Xenoblade 2, a lot of the lore and a lot of the stories are told through like anecdotes and through like oral history. There's a character named Cole. He is he used to be a blade, essentially, or he is a blade. It's kind of complicated, but essentially he has lived for a very long time. So the way he tells stories from the past are based in theater, and it gives a very different interpretation of what happened in real time. We have the as players, we have the opportunity to experience that story ourselves in the DLC Torna, and the way it's told is very different from the way it's actually experienced. So I don't know, like there's just so many interesting things that are happening in these games that I feel like, I don't know, maybe the Final Fantasy games kind of do this as well. I haven't really played any of the recent ones or any of the modern ones. The last one I played was, oh man, was it 9? I'm trying to think. I think I beat 9. That was my first Final Fantasy game that I beat. So I might be 6. I think I've only beaten 6 and 9, to be completely honest. So I don't, and I do want to play. I do want to play 7. I have the opportunity to do that, since they have it on the Switch. So maybe that's something that I will get to as well. But yeah, I think just like for relating this all back to Xenogears, like this game was, when was it released? I think it was 97 when this was released on the PS1. Like, just the level of storytelling and just the detail and characters and just this concept of generation passing down, and just kind of like how the younger generations, they have similar characteristics to the older generation, and they sort of kept a lot of their characteristics and a lot of their culture and everything like that, but are still very different because they're based in a different time in history. It's just, it's so good, dude. I want to play it myself, but it's just so daunting, you know what I mean? 1998, it was published in 1998. So I feel like for that time, that's incredibly ambitious. But I also haven't played 7 or Final Fantasy 7, so that's something, these were both developed by Square. So it'll be interesting, because I know that Takahashi was working on 7, and this Xenogears kind of became his own separate project. So it'll be interesting to kind of see the similarities. And I feel like 7 is a lot less daunting to play through than Xenogears. Xenogears looks like a fucking lot. As incredible as the story may be and everything like that, it also seems like quite a lot. Because I think the main story is fucking 60-70 hours. That's a lot, man. That's not even including side content. So that's it's not, in comparison to other JRPGs, like maybe that's like, kind of whatever, it's kind of there, but that's still like, that's like one of like that's one of like on the longer side of JRPGs. So I don't know, man. And I don't know if how much, if I'm gonna be playing 3, like it's I don't know how much time I'm willing to kind of like commit to that. So yeah, I don't know. It was cool kind of watching through and experiencing that story. And maybe it is a game that I will play. I just don't like. Let's actually just look it up right now. Let's see where we can buy this game, because I know it's like pretty scarce. So the first result that I got, Xenogears, it is $157 used on eBay, which is pretty fucking crazy, but it's kind of expected, I think, just because of how rare it is. $100 on some other website, $200 at Walmart, $10,000 on eBay. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? That's crazy. Who did people like put bids on this? This is crazy, man. Let's take a look at this. I there was a I think it was Tekken. There was like a meme on Twitter I saw that I think it's Konami, or is it Capcom? They released the game on the PlayStation store, and it was like for $10,000. Like they accidentally priced it for $10,000. PlayStation 1, PS1, Black Label, factory sealed. Okay, I see. But for $10K though? Jesus Christ, man. That's fucking crazy. I wonder if this is okay, so they didn't put this on for auction. It's just a straight purchase. That's ridiculous though, man. $10K, dude. Fuck that. Fuck that. That's ridiculous, man. That's some like scalping bullshit that we don't like to see. Anyways, goddamn, I've been talking a long time about Xenoblade shit. This is probably what it's going to be up until the release of the game, and I'm going to be, probably talking about it when I play through it. So I'm really excited. Watching these, like, just reading up on like the lore and watching these like playthroughs and stuff has only made me more excited, because I love the ideas and the lore and just the storytelling of these games. It's just there's just nothing like it that I've really experienced, especially in like the video game form. It's awesome stuff, man. So looking forward to all of that, and hopefully more on the horizon. So yeah, that's gonna do it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.